And we're live.
Hello.
Cool.
Sorry, I just had to finish that last putt.
That's fine.
I
Welcome to.
happened to have my capture card hooked up, so I decided to play some golf while I waited.
I actually
It's okay.
really enjoyed the little golf story stream in the waiting. Welcome to the FUNCAST. This is our new exciting time, Tuesday 9 late night edition. And
Different bat time, same bat channel.
Exactly. And we're here to bring you exciting game news, exciting game hot takes, and all sorts of neat stuff that we read on other websites and are just going to rehash to you. Perfect.
Yes,
Yep.
that's how it
So,
works.
as normal, or as usual, now that we have some routines, this is our fifth show?
Six.
Six.
Incredible. We said six too many times. We should be careful. But
I'm the beast.
But to start, we will go around introducing ourselves. Burnout.
Hi, I'm Burnout. I was playing golf in the pre-roll. I like video games. That's
what?
it.
Unheard of.
Uh-huh.
Who would ever do such a thing?
I'm also the one controlling all the things that you see, including the director of God of War crying, reading all the reactions to his cool new video game.
Oh, really? That's what that is? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I was wondering.
Yeah,
why
I
that
just
was.
thought.
In the wake of all the God of War reviews, he made a reaction video where he's watching all these stellar reviews and he starts crying in his video.
Mm-hmm.
That's
really cool. I mean, it's so much work. I mean, when was the last God of War? We'll get back to God of War actually a little bit.
Yeah, we'll touch on it a little bit later. Discount.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Discount Llama. I play video games. Play probably, some could argue, too many video games.
It's like we all have something in common. Incredible.
Seeing the common thread.
We
here.
should start a podcast and talk about it.
We should.
Or
We'll call it
something.
the cast fun.
Yes.
Cast of fun.
No.
Because we're just a cast of characters and we like to have fun.
Saved it.
I mean, yeah.
And I'm Mr. Android. You can call me Andrew. I like to talk about games as well. I like to make
Really?
games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Even
you
had
like
a
to
chance-
make games.
Even had a chance to make a game this weekend. Did not work out as well as I thought. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. Exciting Ludum Dare stuff.
Is that how you pronounce
but
it?
It is, because it's Latin, so you have to say it
Oh.
fancy.
Oh, I've been saying
Okay.
Ludum Dare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like we dare you to make a game.
That's what I thought it was.
No,
I mean-
I don't actually know what the Dare stands for. Ludum is related to like game designer of some kind. Like ludology is the study of game design, I believe.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
You know-
ludology is the study of games and gaming. So, but I don't know what the
suddenly
Dare
liking-
means.
I'm suddenly liking the name of this event less and less.
It's a little pretentious.
It
Actually.
is super
It's getting-
pretentious.
getting up there.
It's
Much
not
prefer-
just-
I
it's
much
not just
preferred it when it
gibberish.
was, we dare you to make a game in 3 days.
That sounded
Ludum.
like extreme.
Much more fun that way.
Ludum was just like Yahoo, Ludum.
Yeah, basically. It could have
Well,
been some dude's name.
Yeah, I thought it was a bunch of
Some
Swiss dudes who
Swedish
really
guy.
like to dare people to make games.
Well, it could be. That's the headcanon that you want. I'll allow it.
It's the headcanon I'm
Um,
keeping.
So now we usually just go around and talk about what games we played. Discount having played the most games of all of us by far. Why don't you guys start first?
You have to carry this section for us.
Yeah. Because some people are too busy to play video games.
Oh boy.
Hard.
I guess is a good problem. So yeah, last week, like just after we recorded our podcast last week, I got my copy of Yakuza 6, the PS4.
Mhm.
That's a good ass video game.
Yeah, you played that right after the stream last time, right?
Right after the stream, and then I played some more a lot more off stream, just because like it's such a text and story heavy game in a lot of cases.
Mhm.
But the Cliff's Note version of what Yakuza is, it's Shenmue but good. It's basically Sega went, hey, Shenmue's real cool, but we don't want to spend like $100 million in like 9 years making one.
Yeah.
Let's make a good game.
I always
Out
thought it
of
was just
the
an
ideas?
excuse to cram all kinds of RC slot car and karaoke mini games together.
I mean,
with a
kind of.
loosely connected story.
Like, I mean, it carries a lot of the same things of Shenmue. Like, here's a lot of side activities, and they all have stories and like characters and whatever. Like
Right.
Yakuza 0, the prequel, it's like you can race RC slot cars and manage a hostess club and a real estate company. And every
Okay.
game has that stuff. And like Yakuza 6, it's like it's a story, and like it's the sixth game in a series, and there's a very long story.
They're all
following the
related.
character.
It's not
Yeah,
like
they're all
Final
related.
Fantasy?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Kazuma Kiryu, former Yakuza enforcer, and then at one point temporary boss of a Yakuza clan, who immediately abdicates. And a lot has happened to this dude since the mid '80s in video game time.
Huh.
He's an old man now. Well, not old. He's like 50s, maybe late 40s, but like he kind of just doesn't. He doesn't look very old.
Is he the
Man,
red
doesn't-
shirt dude in the video?
Yeah, with the
What?
white
He
suit.
does not look
Yeah.
very
He's
old.
50? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
no, believe me, he does not look
I
very
mean,
old at
how
all.
much time has passed between Yakuza 0 and Yakuza 6?
So Yakuza 0 takes place in the mid to late 80s. Yakuza 6 takes place in 2016.
Okay.
Because I feel like, did Yakuza 0 just have a re-release or just came out recently? I was watching a
Yakuza
lot
0 is like a new game that's a prequel.
Okay, that was a
And
prequel
flows into Yakuza, which got a remake on the new engine on the PS4, because it was previously a PS2 game called and now it's a Yakuza Kiwami.
Mhm.
And then there's going to be a Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is the remake of the second game. And then you're finally on to like modern consoles with the PS3 versions. But anyway, story of this game, the setup is like you get out of prison after the end of Yakuza 5. You choose to go to prison for 3 years in order to like take the blame for some stuff, to let the rest of the Yakuza get on with their lives and take the heat for yourself in that way.
Okay.
Previous games, Kiryu set up an orphanage because he himself is an orphan and he runs it.
That's nice.
You get out of prison, go to the orphanage, and like, yo, where's everybody? Oh, sorry, the girl you've basically adopted as your daughter and who was sort of a pop idol has gone missing, and
Mhm.
nobody knows where she is, and so now you got to go find her. So you go back to your old stomping grounds, which is the same section. It's Tokyo's red light district, same area that's been in every Yakuza game. It's the main area, and go find her. And then from there, it's like a Yakuza crime story, and then it leads you to, I forget the name of this town, this small town in the Hiroshima prefecture. It's a small shipbuilding town. Get embroiled again with the Yakuza, as always happens in these games.
Okay.
Well, I
And
hope
then,
so. This game
spend a
called
lot of
Yakuza.
spend a lot of time playing karaoke and drinking at the bar and basically playing Japanese Cheers, like the show Cheers.
Oh,
There's
like
a version of that in this game, which is really good and surprisingly effective storytelling of all these characters you meet like twice and you're just talking to in a bar, and then you rank up in this side activity. You rank up to become a regular, and then like king of the bar, and then like you help the woman who owns the bar, and like it's a really good side story, really well written. And
That sounds
one
like
of
there's
the
a lot to do.
the achievement for becoming a regular is called Where Everybody Knows Your Name, which is perfect. In this town in Hiroshima, you can also spearfish, which is like an arcade rail shooter. So that's the best thing about Yakuza, is that it balances this very serious crime story
Right.
with wacky, weird, funny like side stories.
That's kind of the
in
Grand Theft Auto
situations.
approach, right?
Sort of, but this
Is it
one
better than
it-
the Grand Theft Auto side stuff?
yeah, because a lot of the silliness blends into the main story, but like only through like the combat, because the combat is like ridiculous and brutal, and like it's you. Oh, I'm gonna charge up my heat meter, which is like your special attack, and like take this dude's knife and stab him in the stomach, and then
Ugh.
Oh my
knee
God.
him, and then knee the knife into his stomach. Or I'm gonna pick up this bike and just smash it. Like the combat is ridiculous and how over the top brutal it is.
That sounds like the Sleeping Dogs combat where you're like
Yeah,
shoving
it's-
dudes
it does,
through
yeah.
air conditioning
it's like
and
it's
stuff.
like that. So you get that. That's where the silliness in the main story is, in like the action, because it's ridiculous.
It's
but like
it's so over the top.
yeah, the main story is serious. Like the main story
Yeah.
in Grand Theft Auto games can also get to be pretty silly.
Mhm.
It's
but not-
pretty-
yeah.
yeah. It's like
But like,
it's like a
yeah.
B movie.
most of the silly stories are all in the side stories. Like I'm managing a baseball team, for example.
That's awesome.
Looking at these videos, it kind of reminds me of like something like The Sopranos, with like the 6 seasons and the.
I mean, like, they got Beat
like
Takashi. Like Beat Takashi is face scanned and acts. He's the head of this Yakuza family that's on screen right now, and like he, Americans might know him as the guy that's in MXC from Takashi's Castle, but like he in his career, he was like
oh man, that's awesome.
He's Takahashi of Takahashi's Castle fame, but like he was a big comedian for most of his career, and then he started making serious like crime movies.
Yeah,
in Japan, so they got him to do a character in Yakuza, which is cool.
That's really cool.
But like, yeah, I'm managing a baseball team and like recruiting players, and it's like, hey, you go up to these people that have like an icon over them, and it's like, this guy looks muscular. I should ask him if he wants to play baseball. And it's like, and then some of them are just like
Ni no Kuni.
Some of them are like, some of them's like, yeah, I'm an ex-pro player. Pay me 1,000,000 yen and I'll play for your shitty team. Or like, I just kind of want a bento box. Go get me a bento box and I'll play baseball for you. And then you're like setting lineups and you're playing teams and it simulates through it. And then sometimes you'll have an at bat, and it's more in depth than it needs to be for a side story. But like, it's all about helping this team that's absolutely garbage be good at baseball again.
That's pretty cool. And I'm sure it pays off in some way.
Oh yeah, they all do. It's like a lot of these side characters are like way more fleshed out than they need to be. And I think in the video on stream right now, I think they're Giant Bomb guys are showing off the attention to detail. You walk onto the tatami mats in this house and your shoes go off.
They just disappear.
Yeah, they just vanish and you're in your socks. Same when you go upstairs.
Oh,
like Yakuza games are great and wonderful. And
Eki was asking earlier, by the way, is it Kure, the town?
No, I do not believe so. I will actually look it up.
Is that how you pronounce that? I've been pronouncing it Cure. Ludum Cure.
Is it the Ludum Cure? I think it's Kure. I don't know.
It's it's Kamurocho in Tokyo and Onomichi in Hiroshima Prefecture. Which is really cool because there's a side quest where you meet. So there's a pretty good Japanese movie called The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. Mm-hmm. It was filmed in Onomichi. There's a side story called I think this person leapt through time, and it's like literally that movie's plot as a side story in the game in the town where that movie was filmed, which is a pretty cool little east nested Easter egg. Mm-hmm. Also, cool side story thing. There are some arcades. You can go play, the Sega classic, Super Hang-On, Space Harrier.
Oh, that's cool.
Outrun, Fantasy Zone. But then they also have straight up the PS4 version of Puyo Puyo. Not Puyo Puyo Tetris, unfortunately, just straight up Puyo Puyo. But it's
that's not fun.
Thing. Like boots to a black screen and has to load it again.
Right.
And also the entirety of the arcade version of Virtua Fighter 5 is in there, and like
that's what I'm saying. It just sounds like a collection of mini games loosely wrapped in a story.
Well, that's kind of like what Grand Theft Auto was too,
I didn't even tell you the coolest side story is that like you also run a gang, and those gang fights, and you're recruiting people for that too. You're recruiting like lieutenants for that. Like those gang fights aren't like fights; they're like reverse tower defense. Where like you load into a level and there's like it'll be like a back alley somewhere. And it'll be like, here's 4 enforcers, 2 dudes with guns, and a dude with a knife. And then you get points over time, and you use that to spawn in dudes or your lieutenants.
That sounds like the old Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, like when you get the base defense.
Yes, it's like that. And then there's a whole storyline for that. And all the dudes that run the opposing gang you're fighting against called Justice, which is amazing. They're all Japanese pro wrestlers, like in real life. They're all face. They all use their own names. They're not playing themselves, but they're all named after themselves, and they all have their signature move. It's cool. It's a hell of a game. There's so much in it, and it's
Final take. Better than 5, or if the previous one was 0, I don't actually know. Better or worse?
I'd say this one's probably the best. Like the way I think some of the combat is a little worse. Just because like they changed some of the like heat action stuff, and but
Mhm.
like it's more like it's more loose, more flowing. There's a lot. It's more physics based. So like and there's some really brutal like ragdoll physics. Like you kick a dude in the head and he does like a cartwheel sideways. And
Ugh.
I hit a dude with a hammer over the head so hard he bounced off the ground.
Oh my god.
That's brutal.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's a really good game. If you have a PS4, play it. Don't worry about knowing any of the story before. There's like a straight up page on the menu that recaps the previous 5 games
Mhm.
for you in text, so you can just like jump in and play it.
Cool. It sounds awesome. I've
Yep.
never played a Yakuza game, and I don't know. I feel like I should check it out. But
It's cool.
before moving on to the next game,
I think if you wanted to check it out, you could start with Yakuza 0 because I think it's only $40. It's not.
it's
not a
cheaper.
full price game.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Is all PlayStation exclusive?
All PlayStation exclusive.
All right.
Good to know.
Luckily, I have one of those. Um, before we move on, just to move around, Burnout, what have you played this week?
So I have been going back and playing old games, so I haven't played anything new really. For some reason, I decided to pick up Breath of the Wild and continue playing my Master Mode file.
You never beat it?
choice.
I thought you did.
Not Master
Huh.
Mode.
What?
I beat the base game, and it took me like 130 hours because I was doing like everything. And
Yeah.
then I started Master Mode,
Fair.
and I don't know. I played another like 20 hours in the last week,
Damn.
and I'm
Oh,
still
that's
not
worse.
close to being done. I've only done like 2 of the divine beasts out of 4.
So like Master Mode's like increased difficulty, and what else?
Right.
Yes, every monster is 1 tier up. So like red bokoblins
Okay.
would have been the starter ones. They don't exist at all anymore. They all start at blue and go up. And
Right.
where in the base game silver was the highest tier, there were like silver Lizalfos and silver
Yeah.
of the what's the Lionel
don't know.
guys. Now there's a gold tier, which is even harder. Besides
gross.
that, if an enemy does not get attacked for like 5 seconds, they start regenning health. So
Oh,
there's no
I
like
do remember
slowly
that.
chipping shit
Oh,
down. You
no.
gotta like actually fight it. I think you take increased damage, but that might just be because they're all higher tier. Other than that, there's balloon platforms floating everywhere with dudes on them.
I've saw that. Yeah, the Octorek platforms.
So sometimes
That's
you're
the
just
archers
like,
on them.
all I need to do is like ride my horse from this place to this place, and you're getting like shot at with dudes with bomb arrows from out of nowhere because they're just
Huh.
like floating above the world.
So it's like Nintendo's like, players do this, let's make the enemies do it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it definitely does introduce a little bit more challenge. It's been fun playing the game again because it's just a good ass game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a really good ass game.
yeah, I
Are
think
are the bosses any different
uh
from the dungeons?
no, they seem to be the same, and I feel like the damage on them is about the same too because the wasn't particularly challenging the 2 bosses I've done so far.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it was still like the regular amount of challenging. It's not like it was easy.
Some of them are pretty easy.
Yeah.
The Gerudo one's the hardest for sure, I think.
Which
that
one
one's
was
so
the
frustrating.
Gerudo boss? The boss?
That's
or
the
level?
lightning.
The one where you
lightning
gotta like
bolt.
pick up the
Oh.
rods and hit them with the lightning
Yeah,
bolt.
that
Yeah.
one, like it didn't kill me. It just took me forever to figure out what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It helps a lot that I knew what I was doing this time because I'd beaten the game once before. So I rushed a full Hylian armor set because that's easy to get to 4-star rank because all it is bokoblin guts.
Parts. Yeah.
Right.
So I've got like decent defense already. I rushed my first 13 heart containers so I could pull the Master Sword out. And
Oh,
then
nice.
I ran into the palace and I got the Hylian shield, and now I'm just like I'm set up for the rest of the game with at least a baseline of stuff. It's really
Right.
nice having the sword because it regens, like the Master Sword breaks after you use it for a while and then it comes back. Because with everybody's increased health and the regenning and everything, I'm going through weapons like
Oh, that's
crazy.
true.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
I didn't even think of that. That
I
makes sense.
have ended up in like several situations where I literally run out of weapons and I'm like, I can't fight these guys. I gotta just turn around and leave.
I gotta just
Right.
throw bombs
Or
forever.
yeah, throw bombs, which they don't do enough damage. They just like start regenning back. Oh, I'm still
Oh,
doing
they
it.
like regen back in the time it takes them to get up from being ragdolled.
Well, yeah, and the time it takes me to like pull out another bomb.
God.
And increasing your inventory is slow process.
Yeah, so that I just figured once I got the Hylian shield, which I don't think breaks. I've never broken it in the regular
I think
game.
it technically can break, but like
There's a way to get it back.
But it probably just respawns in the same chest, right?
It's something. I forget. I think it actually goes into your inventory as a
Also,
broken something, and you have to repair it somewhere.
You can like rebuy it.
Or the guy in Terrytown that sells all the unique equipment.
No, there's an easier way than that. I don't remember. I remember reading all about it that one time, but yeah, it doesn't go away. There is a way to keep it around.
Anyways,
I don't remember.
Because I've got that now, and I don't know, I'm just responsibly using my 4 slots for bow. I've just been stacking all of my seeds into weapon inventory just so I could carry like just extra
90 swords.
Yeah, because I just go through them so goddamn fast.
Yeah. And you also, right before the stream, seemed to be playing Golf Story.
Yeah, speaking of going back and playing things, in the last stream, I was in the middle of the final tournament when I paused the game to do this show.
Stupid golf interrupting show.
After we finished the stream, I jumped back on to finish that, got my ass handed to me, repeated to get my ass handed to me like 6 or 7 more times. That final tournament is hard. Or I was just like playing real bad or something. I don't know. I finally beat it. It's a good game.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
I had checked my file. There's an in-game timer that I checked. It was 19 and a half hours to play the whole game.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good for like a $10 game.
Right?
I think
it's $10.
10,
Nothing.
15.
That's awesome.
And that was including just like one free play game with my brother-in-law. And then since then, I played a bunch of just extra free play games with my brother here just because it's a good golf game.
Oh, so you can play 2-player. I didn't know that about it.
You can.
I wasn't sure. I thought it was a single player only sort of experience.
So
that's interesting.
Tying this slightly into the last game I've been playing this week, been running some main scenario daily roulettes in Final Fantasy XIV, which they made it
Final Fantasy.
You can't skip the cutscenes in those, so they turned into really long, boring daily dungeons.
What? That's not true. What do you mean? You can skip the cutscenes
in the scenario. They patched it recently where you can't.
That's weird.
Like the main story quest.
Yeah, the main story ones, like the full party ones.
Huh.
So
you can skip them, but not everyone else will, right? Is that
no. They forced it, so everybody has to watch them. It's a thing that they just added, like in the whatever the last patch was.
That's gross.
So
weird.
I've been doing that, and my brother's coming over, and we would sit on either end of my dining room table, and we're playing on laptops doing Final Fantasy, and then these long unskippable cutscenes with Sid fucking around with his Magitech come up, and I'll have the golf story just like kickstand the Switch on the end of the table, and we each take a Joy-Con, just like play a couple rounds of golf. Like shit, the cutscene's ending, and we like jump back, we do the fight or whatever, and then another cutscene starts. Like, all right, play another couple holes. So that's nice.
Well, once you get to Freysvelger, those are the scenes to watch. Yeah. Freysvelger is the coolest character.
But yeah, it's smoothly transitioning into the other thing I was playing was Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, just been slowly chipping away at.
You're like level 55 now.
Yeah, I've got a summoner up to level 58, and then in one of the story dungeons, we met this cool ass white mage guy, and invited him into our little free company with like the 5 of us.
Yep.
And at that point, I was like, oh, we've got like way too many healers, and if any 4 of us want to do a dungeon at a given time, I guess I'll just start leveling my paladin again. So I started doing that. Got a paladin up to 55.
And so,
tanking with people you know is not awful.
Yeah. So I've been leveling characters, classes. So I used to calling it leveling classes or characters.
Right. Classes? Don't you mean jobs?
Well, first they're a class.
First they're a class, then they're a job.
Not if it's a red mage.
Leveling a Sturgeon, a healer. I think I'm up to like level 38 on that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, I haven't ever played, or like first I was leveling an archer and then a bard, turned into a bard.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh, I haven't played my astrologer since in 3 years. Let's level that up from level 32. And that's a cool healing class, especially when you're not stuck in endless Satasha hell of the leveling roulette dungeons because boy, healing at level 16 is boring.
It's
I
awful.
hear that healing level 16 dungeons is so boring that you just give your tank shit and only use emergency heals.
So then after our discussion last week, I'm like, I've never actually tanked in Final Fantasy 14, and I enjoy tanking in other games. So I start leveling a tank, and I level. Was the Marauder is the class that turns into the warrior?
Mm-hmm.
Big ol' axe dude.
Yep,
just
Marauder.
A big old fucking axe, and it feels like you're
great.
playing a DPS class because you do fairly good damage, especially as like a tank class, and like you have a big axe, and the animations are
ton of enmity. It's awesome.
The animations on that axe are real good.
Mm-hmm.
They're really just brutal, like quick swings and like big just overhead. So I got to level 16 to go do my first dungeon. Q is instant, perfect. My first fucking dungeon, I run into the only bad apple I have ever played with in a random queue. It's a healer. It's an astrologian, as it turns out. Using the entire dungeon, the only heal I ever get is the 40-second cooldown instant heal, the emergency heal. It's the only heal I ever get the whole dungeon. Every 40 seconds, he hits E on me or whatever his hotkey is, and like, you're fully healed now. Then goes back to DPSing. And so I'm just like, after I die to like just trash, and I'm like, can you like not just use that heal? Can you cast like BattleTech like once, fight even? And he's like, nah.
You get it at level 2.
Yeah, you get level 2.
It takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And
at this level, it's basically a full heal anyway. It's the first dungeon in the game. And yeah, he was just that kind of dick and was like, it's your fault. You have less health than the black mage without a job stone. And I'm like, because I'm level 16. Everybody else is level synced. How am I supposed to not have the least health? And just this motherfucker.
The worst thing too is that astrologians aren't healing are just wasting their times with Malefic, which is their only damage spell at that level, and it does 150 potency, which is disgustingly low. It's not the first part of your combo does 150 potency. There's no reason to waste your casts on Malefic or Malefic.
And it's like I'm using my Stonewall to reduce damage by 20%. I'm using that on cooldown every 90 seconds and trash mobs because he's just not healing me. And like it was a real thing. And then I left, and then like the dungeon ended, and I queued into another one and got a bunch of people that have like never done the dungeon before, and it was way more fun.
I don't get how you found.
Sure, this dude's not a good healer, but like he's trying. And these DPS are like, which way do we go, tank? And I'm like, I don't remember this dungeon. Let's find out together. And had a lot more fun.
How did you find an asshole in this game? I thought everybody who plays this game is just middle-aged moms who want to roleplay their slice of life anime in their free company house.
I don't know. It's
you're not wrong.
It's like I don't know. I found the one bad guy, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm like a 78th percentile paladin on FF logs. You shouldn't need healing."
That's the other thing too. So for those unfamiliar with MMOs in general, it's just there's a class makeup of DPS, you do damage, tanking, so you make sure no one else gets hurt, and a healer. The healer just needs to make sure the tank doesn't die, because if the tank
make sure
dies,
nobody dies. That's all you have to do.
Because if the tank dies, everyone dies. That's it, right? So you'd think the healer's only goal in life is just to make sure the tank doesn't die. Now, there is some responsibility on the tank side, but at level 16, like the second dungeon in the game, everyone has 5 abilities. There's no thought process that should go in playing at this point in the game. You just cast your heals, you get through it. It takes 25 minutes, whatever. If you're trying to speed run a dungeon at level 16 to do it in 23 minutes, shave off that sweet 2 minutes, what the fuck are you doing wasting like your life with that? That's bullshit, and it's really upsetting to me whenever everyone encounters a bad experience in FF14, because as Burnout said, it's mostly middle-aged moms, and it's good people.
I hear they're not all middle-aged, according to our chat.
That's a rumor.
Fake news.
Fake news. So I don't know. Just got to the story the other day, and I got very upset about it.
My glass is lighting up. I guess Blue Jay just hit a home run.
Woo! Go
cool.
Blue Jays.
Yeah,
I mean, do you want to explain that for everybody?
I ordered
No,
the
I think it's
instead of
mysterious the way it is.
instead of buying
I've got a
a
magical
2-4
goblet.
instead of buying a 2-4 of Budweiser, who do not sponsor the stream. Actually, I mean, technically, we could get like copyright strike for me showing the logo because baseball is baseball. But
Pull up the black label, label it out. Answer it.
Anyway, it's cool. It like you sync it with an app on your phone, and then when a J is a home run, it lights up. They have a similar like goal horn thing for hockey. Hello, webcam.
In our last game we played,
I also did just want to say before the lights the light went off. I did, and I keep playing my warrior. I'm actually a warrior-ass warrior now. I'm like just hit level 30.
Nice.
That's cool. Get that build that passive. You just like press the button. I have 25% more health and do less damage, but also get more parry and have a rage bar now.
Once you're a tank and you get, or warrior specifically, and you get overpower, that's when the game becomes incredible, because overpower is the best low-level tanking ability at all.
It's like just the AoE, like
you're just like everything in front of
really
me.
Good.
Fight me, because paladins don't get AoE hate generation.
I think you get flash.
They flash.
They get flash, and flash is shit because it doesn't do damage. See, overpower does damage,
and it has an increased threat modifier on it. Yeah,
so it actually
really cool. Warrior's cool.
Them. Anyways, so yeah, the last game that we played for discount was going to talk about BattleTech.
Yeah, that came out at
today, right, or today.
That came out noon Eastern today, 9 a.m. Pacific, which is an interesting time to release a game. But I guess harebrained schemes. They're in Seattle. I guess they want to be in the office when the game came out. All hands on deck.
That's fair.
And before I even talk about the game, all hands on deck. All hands on deck is fair because, like, if you look at this game, so I'm going to say this before I go into what Steam user reviews, the very trusted Steam user reviews have to say about the game. It's a good fucking strategy game. But it's currently getting the shit review bombed out of it because, like, as with every PC game that releases on Steam, that's like, oh no, it crashes, or it doesn't have 21:9 widescreen support for the
technical
1%
issues
of Steam people that have it, and it stutters. It's a terrible game. Don't buy it.
That is a lot of Steam reviews I've read recently.
It doesn't make a lot of
hardware
sense,
related.
But like, so to be fair, when I first started streaming the game, like just after launch, I had to download it. I bought it through GOG because Ko on Twitch, he's like an affiliate. And he was streaming the game. I'm like, all right, watching you play it finally convinced me to like pre-order the game. It's not broken on your preview copy. That's probably a good sign. And he got like a kickback or whatever. But anyway, so GOG doesn't have preloading, so I had to download it like a pleb. And so I go to play the game, and because I don't use GOG for recent games, the most recent game I own on Good Old Games, GOG, I guess is what they're actually called now.
Yeah, I hear that they
they
changed it. Yeah, they dropped Good Old Games. Well, because they sell good new games now.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it was like an April Fool's Day thing where GOG disappeared for a day and then came back the next day anyway. But like the most recent game I've actually played on GOG is Deadly Premonition.
Okay.
Everything else is like DOS games, and like King's Quest 6, only because the Windows 95 CD, I can't be asked to plug in my actual CD drive to install off the CD anymore.
Yeah.
So like the default install location is my hard disk, which is, spinning and mechanical and terrible.
Right.
So I loaded up. The load times are awful. It was like, there was like menu lag because it's streaming in all these assets. Like it has a folder that's like 13,000 files of streaming assets.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like every time I did anything, it just chugged. And then like I went to quit the game to like move it over, and it hard crashed and locked up my computer.
Okay.
So I had to reboot, moved it over to the SSD. Now it runs mostly fine. There are a couple weird hitches, but like it's a really good strategy game in the vein of like an XCOM. Like you run a mercenary company and you take on missions and you fight them in mechs, and the mech combat is very slow paced, but like deliberate. You're big 30, you start off, you're like 35, 45, 55 ton mechs. Yeah. It's a mech game.
Is
not
it
a mecha?
I can't tell from this video.
It's hexes. They're not, they don't draw in
display,
the outlines, but like,
okay, yeah.
There's a hidden grid in there somewhere.
You've got to worry about like component damage, like your arms, right, left torso, center torso, legs. All those have different armor and structure values, and like weapons can get critted out, and like, it's like, oh no, I lost armor on my right torso. So now on this move, I need to face my mech after moving so that the left side is facing the enemy so they can't hit the open components and like blow up my ammo and kill me. It's much more forgiving than you sound because mechs are like very durable. It's not like XCOM where like 2 bad turns and like your A team's dead, you might as well restart the game. This one, it's like...
Is it permadeath like that, though?
It can be. Like, you can lose a pilot, but like you can just hire a new pilot and they'll mostly be the same skill level. Like, the skill points you get don't change that much.
And you don't lose the mech?
No, you can salvage the mech and repair it. It takes time and money. And since you're a merc company, the only way to lose is to not be able to pay your bills at the end of the month, like run out of money.
I see. Okay.
But like, there's always going to be like a cheap contract on some planet you can take and like make 100,000 C bills and like repair a mech, and like, yeah, it'll take like 30 days, so that mech will be out of action. But like, when you kill mechs at the end of mission, you're getting salvaged. So you're taking parts, and you get 3 parts of a mech. You can put it together and have that mech and have a reserve, and you can hire reserve pilots. And it's really good. I'm like 6 hours in. I think I'm on my 2nd story mission I can go take. It's a really good strategy game if you like XCOM style strategy games.
Yeah, 6 hours in, really 2nd mission sounds like my XCOM experience.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, it's much more forgiving than XCOM because like you're not shooting, or most of the time, not shooting one weapon at once. Your soldier isn't missing with his shotgun, and then you're screwed. It's my mech has 2 auto cannons and 4 lasers, so I'm getting 6 to hit rolls, and most of the mechs early game are like light mechs with reduced armor on them because they're not kept up well. I think like the tooltip is just like ramshackle. It's like a status effect you can mouse over. Ramshackle. This mech just is just a piece of shit rust bucket. It has 25% of its starting armor.
What's really cool about this game too is I was talking to Discount about this, and I learned that it's part of the MechWarrior universe, and I had no idea because.
So like technically, like BattleTech is the brand, is the universe, and like MechWarrior was like Activision wanting to brand the first-person mech combat games because they made MechWarrior. I think they made Mech 1. That might have been self-published by FASA. But they made Mech 2, Mech 3. Did they make? I don't know. Then like Microsoft made some of them, and then they made Mech Assault, which was like a 3rd-person shooter game on the Xbox. Pretty good. Then there's the Mech Commander games, which are like isometric real-time strategy games.
This makes a lot of sense.
Actually, they're more like Jagged Alliance in that like you have like a lance of mechs, and then you're not building a base or whatever. You're completing an objective with 4 mechs.
Yeah.
And whereas this is BattleTech, this is turn-based. It's based off of the board game that spawned all this back in like 1984 or whatever. There's a lot. What's really cool is because like BattleTech lore is really dense, and like the setting most of these games take place in is like within like a 500-year range, and a lot happens. Every like proper noun in every piece of dialogue is like highlighted orange, and you can like mouse over it and get a tooltip, and it tells you what it is.
Nice.
So you're never like, cool. So you're never like, what the hell is Comstar, or what the hell is anything? You just mouse over it and see it.
Right. And I saw when I was looking it up a little bit that some of the mech names and some of the weapons are still the same because it's from the same universe. So MechWarrior 2 was like the first PlayStation game I think we ever owned, my brother and I. So like I remember a lot about that game.
I think like a surprisingly large number of people have played MechWarrior 2.
Yeah, it was really big on the PlayStation 1. It was like a huge release.
There was a PC. I think there was like a Sega Saturn or Sega CD version. Like it was everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go find this 1 second.
All right.
So, Android, what have you been playing this week?
So I played a game this week, sort of.
All the way from
I
to get back.
Talk about last week. I'm just going to talk
BattleTech, not modern BattleTech.
You weren't fast enough.
Not to be confused.
You got
Genesis BattleTech, which is I think also on the Super Nintendo. It's basically Desert Strike, but you're a mech. It's like Desert Strike. But yeah, it's a really cool game. I want to play more of it. Like you're running a mech, you're running a mercenary company. You're dealing with finances. You're hiring pilots.
XCOM.
You're refitting all your mechs. So it's like, oh, I salvaged an LRM-10. I'm gonna shove that on mech, and oh god, it's too heavy. Do I want to shave armor off the mech so I can have tonnage free to mount heavier weapons? And it's great. It's very
cool.
fiddly. It's
I
awesome.
definitely want to check it out because I really liked Into the Breach, which I can talk about a bit some other time.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say this week, what I've been playing is just Hearthstone. Again, Hearthstone's had their big release a couple weeks ago or a week and a half ago of Into the Witchwood. And Hearthstone, to me, is a very exciting game because it's very easy to pick up at any time. Like, say you learned the rules, then you stop playing it for a year, and then you're like, hey, I wonder what the game's up to. You can pick it up and like play it immediately. I have tried to do that like 4 times with Magic the Gathering, and it has been impossible every single time.
Yeah, it's hard with Magic because after like a keyword's been introduced for long enough, they just stop putting reminder text next to it.
Yeah, I've had that issue before.
It's not even that for me as much as just the meta of Magic is so hard for me to follow. Like in Hearthstone, everything's compartmentalized by the 9 classes. It's like, oh, what's the current best Warlock deck? Easy, I get that. In Magic, if you're like, what's the best green deck? And they'll just be like, green decks? Like,
well, first you got to ask what format. We talking about modern, legacy, vintage,
modern, legacy, standard, vintage. Commander,
Pauper.
Pauper.
Pauper is probably that one's it's all commons.
Yep. All commons and like 1 uncommon or something like that.
I think there are some format. I forget there's like another format that's like allows up to like 4 uncommons or something, but Pauper's cool.
Yeah, it can be fun.
If I were to get back into paper Magic, I'd probably build a Pauper deck because it's not very expensive, although some of them are expensive because you're running Snowlands. But like, mostly because it's like these decks, despite being all commons, because it's like all commons outside of a very small ban list, it's all commons like from forever. These decks are actually stupidly good.
Wow.
In a lot of cases.
In the Pauper universe, they're good.
Like the Pauper Elves deck can like put like 40 elves on the table on like turn 4.
Yeah, elf synergies get out of control because of common elf stuff. But that's the other thing too about Magic is like building decks is fun for a lot of people. I know people into Magic like building the decks, but then they have no one to play with. There's no one to say, I have the deck. It's like, oh, you want to play? They're like, I have a commander. You have a commander deck? And you're like, I don't have a commander deck. I got a modern deck. And it's like, well, I guess we can't play. I can make you a modern deck. And you're like, I guess.
Sorry, I don't have a car to sell to build a good one.
And the few friends I have locally that play Magic, it's like very intermittent when they play. So Hearthstone is such an easy pick up and play thing. Like, and that's really the huge appeal to me. Like, I also like there's some websites out there like called HS Replay is a site that I'm like super into right now where you can track like there's a deck tracker program which will track your games for you and save replays.
Oh, cool.
They aggregate all the games of everyone that has it, so they have like 300,000 contributors or whatever, so they can actually like accurately track what the meta is and like see what cards people are playing and report on sort of stuff like that. And I love following that because it's fun to see like, oh, why is this popular, and then sort of analyze it from that way. Whereas Magic is all like you have to track based on tournaments, which is kind of a low sample size, and also tournament play does not represent like I'm going to go play with my friends, where So I like those aspects of Hearthstone more than Magic. But whenever I talk to other card people, they're just like, you play a baby game. Hearthstone doesn't have enough interactions to be challenging.
Hey,
it's like,
you don't let them talk to you like that. Hearthstone's a real game.
Hearthstone's a good ass game.
I think it's good. I like it a lot.
It passes my bar of, can you play it on the toilet? It's a good game. That's why I like the Nintendo Switch.
Speaking of the Nintendo Switch, Burnout has all these Nintendo stories because he's like the Nintendo expert now.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I do like playing Nintendo games.
So did you get the Labo?
No, not yet.
Did you invest? Did you pre-order it? Anything?
No, I don't have a lot of extra money these days, so I've not gotten a Labo yet. Because it is $70 for the game.
Would you get Both or not both? So if you can only get one, which one would you get?
See, I'm torn. I would want to say I would get the giant robot because although it's only one device, you get a whole game where you get to stomp around a city as a giant robot.
That's true.
But the value of the Toy-Con 1 where you just you get like a bunch of different stuff.
Like I used to think the same thing, and then I started I watched the Giant Bomb 4-hour building Labo thing.
I also watched that. That was fun.
And
4 hours? Oh my god.
It's 4 hours, and Jeff Gerstmann barely finished building the backpack part of the robot and did not finish the rest of the thing.
And then Brad built the piano. And then just in 20 minutes of fooling around with the piano, it's like, hey, here's a cool, one, I don't know, octave piano that has a lot of ways to adjust pitch and like a friggin' whammy bar on the side and stuff. But then once you build something, you unlock all this other stuff. They call it, I think it's the hidden lab or something. It's like the icon on the screen is you go into the sewers. And that
weird.
turns it into hey, do you want to program your own instrument?
Oh, I see.
Do you want to hey, and so you can do stuff when motion, and you get a bunch of if and or statements, do this. So when the Joy-Con moves, play noise, and it's
that content's hidden behind finishing all the other devices first?
Or just that device specifically?
I think it's all that stuff is hidden behind finishing the piano.
Oh, just the piano.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then and so now it's just of course, here's a thing to make music on. Here's 1 million people playing music on their fucking cardboard piano.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. The Labo is so cool.
I think it's going to be one of those cool things for creative people. And I just know I would flounder with it. It just,
I don't know. I think
I wouldn't be good with it. I'd understand it. I just wouldn't know what to do with it. I'd be like, I did it.
You don't know how to be fun. You don't know how to have program just for fun.
No.
You don't want to just you don't have a tiny cardboard piano on your desk that you just, when you're bored, you can jam on it a little bit.
No, I can imagine having a Casio on my desk and just looking at it and be like, thing is real dusty and covered in cat hair.
But what's so cool about the piano, and there's other stuff in there, the motorcycle thing. You can it has a track creator, and you can scan objects with the infrared camera on the Joy-Con to add as obstacles to the course, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's all the IR camera on the controller reading IR markers on the inside, the stuff people are going to be able to just make along with the programming stuff is crazy. I think if you know a particularly creative or Lego loving 13-year-old,
I think that's the right age.
They will adore this. And part of me is looking at this holy shit, if I had space to have all this stuff, I'd totally buy Labo just because it's a cute little piano, and maybe mess around with learning how to piano would be fun.
That's also one of my issues. I don't know where I would put all this stuff once I built it.
Yeah, I need more shelves.
One thing I would enjoy is turning it into a beat machine, drum kit. I would enjoy that if I turned the piano into a drum machine.
Which I think you can do. You can.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the things you can
There's
do.
a
It has,
sequencer built in.
There's a sequencer. There's a record and playback function, so you can record things and have it loop, and it's a surprisingly fleshed out music making program in this Labo device.
Yeah, I'm just not super sold on physical things, and I like the approach, I like the tech, I like everything about it. I just don't know precisely who the market is, and that's always the thing about these. Who is gonna go out and buy it? Right now, I think it's all.
I think everybody in Japan.
Yes,
is
probably
the first answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Judging by the fact that I think it sold out there.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And if you're a creative person and you have a Switch or have been thinking about getting a Switch, this is a really cool thing to just play with. There's so much cool stuff, and the way you can program in new instruments and make a guitar out of the thing, because you're having the Wiimote sense different IR strips and play different notes when you strum, and
Right.
You can. It's cool.
It just seems like
get it. Let me know.
Yeah, Burnout.
I'll work on it. Yeah, it just seems like a cool kit for like tinkers and hobbyist programmers and stuff. Because there's a lot of
It's a cool introduction to STEM.
there's a lot of like little
that's
tech
true.
hidden in these Joy-Cons, like the IR cameras, the HD rumble, like all these accelerometers, and they're
Like,
giving
one
you
of
a
the-
way that you can just freely tap into those and
Yeah,
create
Right.
things.
it's like one step short of being an SDK.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
for the
basically
Switch.
like a modern version of Lego Mindstorms.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also kind of feels like a physical Mario Maker, and just because of Nintendo, not the Mario. I bet it has a similar feel once you're actually like.
It has really good build music.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not quite like Wii Shop, but like it's got a really good like.
Nothing will ever
stand-up
be Wii
bass.
Shop. Wii
One
Shop
of the first
Pete Drake.
videos I saw, somebody doing the Wii Shop music on the piano.
Oh, well, the first video
Yeah,
I
like
saw
one of
was
the-
All Star.
One of the, of course, one of the playback like noises you can select in the piano is just the HD rumble.
Okay.
Just like when you're playing, it adjusts the frequency of the HD rumble in the cardboard box to like play a whole octave of notes.
Oh my god, hold on. Throwing it all the
Which
way
is
back
real
to Golf Story, if you had another reason to go out and pick up that $10 game, the way they use HD Rumble, because that game is a Switch exclusive right now, is they actually do, besides mimicking like the feel of golf club and stuff when you hit, they use the rumble to play like small chimes and stuff. Like when you knock the
Ooh.
ball into the water, it does like a little fade, like meow. It does that like with it like plays sounds using the HD rumble.
That's cool.
The Switch has cool
That's
tech.
really cool.
Anyways,
One
go
of my
on.
favorite small uses of the HD rumble is in Skyrim when you're picking a lock.
Oh
Like,
yes,
you can physically feel where the sweet spot is by turning the thing and listening and like feeling the
that has
way to, like,
actually
the
helped me.
Yeah.
Like being able to count the clicks as I'm rotating the lockpick is so cool.
Feels good. It feels like you're physically it's HD rumble thing's real freaking cool.
Like I don't think 1-2 Switch should have been $50, but I did end up getting a copy of it, and the things you could do with these Joy-Cons is just it's real cool.
There's surprisingly
Should have been Wii Sports. Should have been
It
packaged.
should have been packaged, but that's okay
Yeah.
because it brought the box price of the Switch down to really cheap for what it is.
So speaking of fun Nintendo software development,
That
couple
is a
of
segue.
couple of hacking groups in the exploits business have released
Exploits.
some exploits for the Nintendo Switch that allow for arbitrary code execution. Long story short, if you want to run Linux on your Switch, there's an exploit available for you to do that. So stuff like the homebrews and the custom firmware and the emulators, and eventually, I'm sure, the piracy on your way to your Nintendo Switch. Basically, like the vulnerabilities of the Tegra X1 have kind of been being poked at for the better part of like 6 months or something at this point, ever
Right.
since like the whole like backend for that got like leaked online. It's kind of amazing what console exploiters will do once they get their mind to it, because now it's like, so first it was a group called Reswitched, which released an exploit first that basically was like, hey, here's us running arbitrary code to make like a big splash screen on the Switch. Here's our exploits, and it's done by like finding a way to get the console to boot into USB recovery mode.
Mm-hmm.
Which
And then
showing a picture
running-
on screen of the tool that they designed and 3D printed.
so
Yeah,
to get it
looks
to
real
boot
sketchy.
into USB recovery mode, there's a couple ways you can do it, and this is like a chip level thing. It's not like a Nintendo software or
Yeah,
firmware.
all this
thing.
happens before the firmware even boots.
Yeah, this is all an exploit of the chip itself, like
Right.
down at the silicone level. The way to do that is you can there are certain parts of the board itself you can disconnect, and it'll like go into a hardware recovery mode, or you can short this, and what that Switch Pro thing slides into is where the right Joy-Con connects to. You can short
Right.
that and the console will be like, oh, time to go into USB recovery mode. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then from there, run the exploit over USB. If you're familiar with like iPhone custom jailbreaking scene back in the day, this would be known as a tethered exploit because every time you'd power off, you'd have to power back on and do the exploit again.
Mm.
So they released theirs. And then like an hour later, like literally an hour later, group called Fail Overflow, fairly famous hacker group, released their exploit publicly. And all these are coming out now because like they disclosed them to Nintendo and Nvidia, and then like we're waiting like 90 days basically as like a grace period. It's like, hey, you notify your vendors that your shit's vulnerable, and then we'll release it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Fail Overflow put out theirs, and it includes a Linux, a bootable Linux that runs on the Switch.
Yeah, it
It's
looked
like
like
a
they had
touchscreen
just all the
capable Linux.
instructions and all the software you
Yeah.
needed. Just like you download the
Yep,
zip file.
and so this one is, and like this one is the same thing. It's like booted into USB recovery mode, and like the way you do that, apparently there's a way to do it on the Switch, which is like, so you can either they have it on their blog post. It's like if you remove a certain board, or you can hold volume up, home, and power on the Switch, not on the Joy-Cons. And if you have a Switch, you might know that the Switch doesn't have a home button on it. However, the CPU thinks the home button is pin 10, which is where that Joy-Con slides in, what that device is shorting. So if you do all that and then either bridge that pin or short it or whatever, you can boot into USB mode and then like run touchscreen Linux on your device. And that's crazy because
All this
holy
sounds real fun, but with the state of unrecoverable saves on the Switch right now,
yeah,
I'm a little hesitant to play around with it.
Another hacker group like added like a save backup feature, which is cool.
Mm.
I remember seeing
then-
that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and then like Fail Overflow released an image of like what looks like Dolphin running on the Switch.
Oh yeah, somebody was playing like a Breath of the Wild, or not, but Wind Waker on Switch.
On the Switch. Like that's crazy. Like how quickly this happens, and because it's a well understood architecture, and like plenty of other things run a Tegra X1, and like all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, we're kicking down the door. Here's a way to get in, and now the next step is like, hey, maybe let's not like fuck with the electronics to get into the state. Somebody's gonna find out, a way to untether the exploit.
So
this is all extremely over my head. I'm just gonna point
Don't
that
worry
out.
about it.
I don't understand or follow.
the fun part is it's a hardware level exploit. So everybody who
it's
has
not
a Switch out now as an
All
unpatchable
15 million
exploit.
switches are vulnerable.
But there have been patents and stuff going through the vine that Nintendo is going to be replacing the Tegra X1 with a modified version of it, probably as soon as next month, to try to prevent this.
From
but
future
all these
Switches only.
all these
'cause
millions
you
of Switches
can't
that
patch
exist
this.
now are going to be vulnerable forever because it's hardware level.
Basically, the boot ROM is secured at the factory. Like they write to it, and then it burns out a fuse that then cuts off the pathway that allows rewriting of the boot ROM.
Yeah.
So like Nintendo physically cannot patch it because there's a fuse that just blew and no longer allows connectivity to the part of the chip that allows it to be rewritten.
Okay.
So the exploit's just there forever on all like 15 million or so Switches that are out there right now.
Yeah. Speaking of cool things that are running on the Switch, though, Android doesn't think it's cool, but I'm gonna throw it out here. We got the release date for Wolfenstein 2 on the Switch. It's coming this June.
Yeah.
Hey man, that is a hell of a game to be running on what's essentially an NVIDIA tablet.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, the thing about the Switch is it came out powerful enough now where it can run all these games. I mean, it runs If it runs Skyrim, I feel like it could run anything.
They had
I know
to
Skyrim's a
hack
lot
down
older.
Doom and Wolfenstein pretty heavily in order to get it to run. So
Yeah.
but here's a game that's running on I don't know whatever the fuck the engine's called now over at Bethesda that came out recently and it's coming to the Switch. Like that's cool as shit.
See, I think part of it is on the developer side though, because you get games coming out like Psyonix with Rocket League, and that game runs like kind of garbage. Well, they sacrifice all the resolution to get the frame rate, which is really necessary in a fast-paced game like that. But
Right.
like when you get moving in
think-
that game, it goes down to like 240p.
And I think
That's
part of that
weird.
is that they're running. I think the base game is built on Unreal 3,
On Unreal 3, which
which doesn't officially support Switch. Well, Unreal 4 has like all the development stuff for the Switch built in.
Unity's in the same boat. They're both experimental right now, and their support for the Switch. I've heard both developers that are sort of struggling with that. That's what people at PAX East said, anyway.
I'm kind of not
But yeah.
surprised. I mean, it's a mobile chip.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it's all about hardware optimization, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to nowadays. Is whenever it's on a device, whenever it's on a phone, the PlayStation, anything, even the Switch, like it really comes down to just like, are you using the SDK correctly? And you can probably optimize the shit out of anything, regardless of what the actual video card is. You probably do have to sacrifice a lot when it comes to certain shaders, and certain lighting effects.
Yeah.
But I feel like in these huge games where like all of the models and the textures look
You
incredible.
can probably cut a lot of that down and never notice.
Yeah, like, oh, there's no smoke particles anymore. Weird.
Yeah.
Like I didn't notice that.
Like it's funny because like in PC games, a lot of that is like when you're sitting at like a screen, like when you first boot up the game and you're like admiring it,
Mhm.
like you notice when you change these settings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then like I kind of did like a self experiment like a year ago with what was it was with Prey,
Mhm.
where like I just started turning off like ambient occlusion and the high resolution shadows and all that stuff, and like when you're actually playing the game you never notice any of that shit.
Yeah, fun fact, ever
like,
since
oh.
I switched to the laptop life, I've been learning to appreciate a game for what it is and playing a lot more medium low settings just to A, preserve frame rate, or
Yeah.
B, if I'm just playing Final Fantasy and I'm just like sitting in an MMO for countless hours, I run it on lower settings to get the fan noise and the heat down. But like the
Yep.
games still look good these days, like even on the
Yep,
lowest settings.
like base level games look good
as long as
and
you've
a
got the
lot-
resolution there.
and because so many of the effects are just like baked in, especially like lighting. It's all like pre-rendered, all baked into textures and whatever.
Yeah, nowadays.
Turn it
for
down
sure.
to turn it down to medium. You're probably not going to notice most of the changes,
Hmm.
and your game will not run like garbage. Speaking as somebody who has a 970, a 3770K, and 8 gigs of RAM, believe me,
Yeah.
you can turn
Oof.
like, hey,
RAM plus computers.
I'm surprised this computer ran Far Cry 5 basically maxed out like just fine. On one hand, on the other hand, BattleTech has a lot of weird fucking like performance issues. Like it maxes out your GPU and just runs it up to like 80 Celsius constantly.
Weird.
So like computer games are weird, but like most of the time they're fine.
Yeah.
Turn down some settings if you want that frame rate, you'll get it.
Also, with Wolfenstein 2, the only reason I wasn't thinking it was exciting is just because I thought it came out like a while ago.
Like
but apparently it
25 years ago.
No.
I did
It
too.
only came out in October.
Yeah, Wolfenstein 2
Apparently.
just came
Yeah,
out
it's
like
new.
not.
I thought it came out like last year, like an actual year ago.
Nope.
I didn't realize it was so recent. Also, Steam reviews for it are apparently terrible. And
Well, that's Steam reviews.
I know, I was just
Yeah.
looking at it, and it
I
seemed
mean,
like
but
a lot
also
of people
I've heard
had
that,
to,
like, Wolf 2 probably isn't as good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not the
As the first
knockout
one?
hit as the first one, where it doesn't have that same come out of nowhere surprise.
right.
Yeah, it's
But hey,
is what it
it
is.
lets you shoot Nazis on the go, so that's pretty cool.
yeah, that's fun.
So
Lets
the
me shoot Nazis
console-
on the toilet.
a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10
Uh,
on the toilet.
Speaking of consoles that you can't play on the toilet easily, but you could if you,
You
tried
could
hard,
with a Vita and the remote play.
right, is the PlayStation 4, and Detroit Become Human is on its way.
the new David Cage game of Heavy Rain fame, well, infamy, and
And Beyond Two
Fahrenheit,
Souls.
and Beyond Two Souls, and yeah, the demo's out. Like visually, this game is like kind of mind blowing.
It is
And,
very cool.
And like as much like these games get weird as shit, and something like they break down, like they can't sustain themselves, and like the narrative he wants to get to from, it's just not. The first like 2/3 of the games tend to be pretty good, and then the last third is like, this is a different game. Like go play. What did Fahrenheit? That came out as something anyway. That game was like, hey, you're framed for murder, or like you start off the game, your dude like murders a guy in the bathroom of a diner, and then you've got to like clean up the murder scene before like the split screen shows a cop that's in the diner who just needs to go to the bathroom. So he's like clean up the murder scene and get out, and then it's like a branching adventure game from there. That starts off like that, and then in the end there's like monsters, like Lovecraftian horrors and like mind stuff. It's falls apart. But anyway, it's a new game from David Cage. He makes pretty fun narrative games. They're really cool. This one, like an android detective, and I don't know, it looks really cool. The demo's out now.
It was announced in 2016 too, so like I
this
remember
has been
when this came out at E3, and I had no idea what the fuck I was looking at because it doesn't.
That's a David Cage game.
Who made it? It didn't tell you who made it at the E3 showing. I don't remember. Maybe it did, and I just wasn't paying attention. I just remember seeing the video, and I was like, "What is
the prophecy? That's
what is this?" And
other one.
Then you find out it's David Cage, and you're like, "Oh, it's Heavy Rain with robots."
And like I kind of really love just like narrative games like this because like there are so few games that have story like matter that like you give a shit about.
One of the things I really like about these kind of games, specifically Heavy Rain, is like my brother, he got a PS4. He used to play games a lot when we were younger, and his wife doesn't play games at all. But it's like, what co-op games can we play, or what games can we play together? And I was like, you should check out Heavy Rain. It's this cool story game. It's like watching TV, but you get to like interact with the story. And
they're like weirdly cooperative. Like and games like this, and what was that detective game? Came out of Rockstar, that like Rockstar published.
LA Noire?
LA Noire.
LA Noire.
Like, weirdly cooperative story games.
And she loved it. She thought it was awesome. The story is really cool. So that's one thing I'm excited about this game is I think it really reaches out to a huge audience of people, which I think is really neat. It doesn't get bogged down by mechanics. It's really like
it's very simple controls, and like sometimes there'll be like quick time events, but like failing doesn't like end the game. It just puts you on like a different path.
Yeah. Right. It feels very consequential. Like you definitely feel
this is like
impact of decision.
His games are like the ultimate in like choices matter video games. None of this like good option, bad option. It's like here's 4 options, all of them you have no idea if they're a good choice or not, but you're just like, you're playing the character. It's a very pure role-playing game in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a stats RPG, it's a role-playing game.
And looking at his other work, he hasn't done anything since 2013, which is Beyond Two Souls.
This has actually
been a long time.
They've been chipping away at this for, I think it was like they announced they were working on a new game in like 2014. And they first showed it, I think you said 2016 E3, and then it showed up again at like Sony's like demo reel at E3 2017, and then just haven't heard since. But it's because like how many times can you show sections of a narrative adventure game at E3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there's another article here.
The other side of this coin.
Yeah. So what is this one about?
So basically, the other side of this coin, Quantic Dream, the developer, David Cage runs, it's making Detroit Become Human, excuse me, is suing a newspaper in France called Le Monde and a website called Mediapart for reporting on like studio working conditions at Quantic Dream, and somehow, and they're just like these allegations are absolutely not true, and lies and slander, but like somehow I'm not surprised that like maybe working conditions at a studio are really bad. Who would have guessed?
I know, it's pretty common. It's really weird though. It's strange to take legal action against.
Yeah, I think this is the first time.
It's a European case too.
Yeah.
Their courts are very different than ours.
Especially in France, because like just recently there was a developer that was on strike in France. They make developers of the War Game series on PC. They were on strike alleging all kinds of stuff going against like French legal working conditions, and then eventually had to quit the strike because the publisher has more money than they do, and they have to go back to work at some point.
It could be too, just like suing them's the only way for them to take it down. Like there's no
I don't know, but like
But it's pretty shitty. I don't like it. It sets a really bad precedent.
Yeah.
Too.
And it's like they're like reporting like sexist jokes, extensive crunch, racist comments at Quantic Dream, and like I mean, I imagine if you're a developer and these allegations are untrue, the only thing you can do is sue. Like, there's no way to look good in this situation, even if the allegations aren't true.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, there's too much bad shit about game developers, studios to like not.
And it's
side
really
with the newspaper.
It's really too bad too, because we're at a point where something like this can really sink a game with bad media coverage. So hopefully, I don't know, they figure it out and there's more information comes out about it.
They're suing a newspaper and a website over.
I know, very strange.
Reporting.
Depressing.
Yeah. So who knows? We'll follow that. I mean, it sounds like it's in the works, so it probably will come up
it's a
again.
legal action. It'll take forever. Check back in like 3 years
as the game comes out. The other big piece of news that I thought was interesting, no one else seems to, is that God of War came out.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting.
You don't even have PlayStation.
I think it's very interesting. I just for whatever reason, just don't really care about the game.
I've been watching a lot of streams and stuff, and I do own a PlayStation. I just don't play it.
Yeah,
why did you get Monster Hunter with us?
Because I don't want to pay monthly subscription to use the internet.
I guess that makes sense.
Well, yeah, this game looks really cool. It's gotten phenomenal reviews. I just have like no interest in playing it, and I'm not sure why. Because normally this is a game I'd play.
I mean, I kind of get it too. It's like it was announced a long time ago. There was a really cool trailer for it, and then there was nothing. No ramp up, no news, no media. It just appeared.
Yeah, I forgot it was even a thing until it came out, and but I hear it's doing good.
There was no like, hey, you should play this game because
there wasn't a whole lot of
scene.
like ramp up.
Yeah, so I kind of get that aspect of it, where it's just like, man, I have so many games to play right now. Why should I play this one?
Came out like 3 days after Yakuza 6, which also features a grumpy dad. So,
see,
I forgot to mention that about Yakuza 6. You're like taking care of your missing adopted daughter's 1-year-old child.
Oh boy.
It's a lot of good scenes of like, hey, I'm gonna leave this with this lady who leave the baby with the lady who runs the bar and go beat up dudes. And then go play baseball. Just forget about the kid for a while.
So
that's Yakuza.
I wasn't super into old God of Wars before. Like I tried playing them, and that kind of like spectacle fighter game is just, it's an okay genre. I'm not super into it, but this one looks a little more interesting. The combat looks a lot more weighty.
Yeah,
not like flying around with your chain swords. And the whole
chain swords, there's no weight to it at all. It's just your area of affecting everything around you.
Yeah. So
like
this
the only game in that genre of spectacle fighters that I've liked is Bayonetta.
That's one that I still haven't played yet.
That's the only one that's like played well to me. Like God of War games.
But that's coming to Switch. I'll play it when it comes out there on the toilet.
Yeah, it is on Switch already.
Oh, is it already out?
Bayonetta 2. Yep.
Oh shit!
It came out in March. No, mid-February.
I totally missed that. I'm gonna play those on the toilet.
You can buy the physical copy of 2 and get 1 for free, or if you buy
I heard about that, yeah.
Or if you buy 2 digitally, you get a discount on the first game, so it works out to be the same price as buying physical.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, the combat in this game looks intriguing, and I might get it on PlayStation. I'll play single player games there because I don't have to pay to use the internet.
But you can't play it on the toilet, so it's like.
But you're right.
It's not as good.
The whole combo system with old man Kratos and his little kid who's like running around with a bow on the battlefield, like it looks like fun. Yeah, boy. I've been watching all the content, all the streams and everything. It's just
boy.
Yeah, it's walk up to a thing and press X to boy.
I don't even know.
Boy, come look at this.
Just boy.
Boy, what does this say?
Here's another one. Read it to me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
The concept.
I love that idea.
Yeah, the story is interesting because it's Greek Kratos. He's killed every Greek god. There are no more gods left for him to kill. So now he's in Norse land with his kid who knows the Norse language and knows about the Norse gods, and he doesn't. So the
Yeah,
kid
right.
has to tell him everything.
Yeah,
Right.
and there's a lot of just like, yo, Thor blew up that dude in front of us. And like a lot of really cool, like, like God of War, the thing it did best is like, here's really like fucked up cool versions of like Greek gods, depictions of them that you've never seen otherwise. They're not like statues, they're not perfected statues of beautiful art forms. They're like horrible monsters. Like this does the
Right.
same for like the Norse pantheon, a lot of cool ways.
Yeah, I mean, I played God of War 2, which is the only one I played. I played all the way through it. I picked it up super cheap because it was way after the
Yep.
fact that it came out, and I loved it actually. I really enjoyed it. It did this really cool mix of like stupid easy like puzzle segments with like really interesting combat segments. But I really liked the boss battles because I really just felt driven to like
Yep.
kill all the Greek gods. It felt really like satisfying to like see his anger actualized on these people. Like,
And I
like
hear a lot of
deaths
the
are so ridiculous that he's able to inflict on people.
oh yeah, here's the Minotaur eyeball, and let me tear out the Cyclops eye and beat him to death with it. And
There's this one guy with a chariot, and I don't know who it is. I forget. But he like he as you kill him, he finds, I think it's Helios, maybe it's
probably.
Helios. Anyways, he finds a door in this giant chariot. I'm like, where'd this door even come from? And he puts his head between the door and he just starts slamming his head in the door repeatedly. And I'm like,
Yeah, and
oh
you're
my
mashing,
God.
you're like mashing square the whole time to just bash this poor god's head in with a door.
And I'm just like, holy shit, what's happening? Yeah. And I was like, this game's incredible.
If the games were like just the boss fights, I think I'd like them more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could totally see that. I did like leveling up the weapons and stuff too. The really light RPG elements I thought was fun. So
Yeah.
I don't know. You can play through it really quickly too. Like I think I played through it in 2 days. Like
The one thing that interests me most about God of War, like surprisingly, is the story. Because like I hear it deals a lot with like Kratos's past and like just how fucked up that all is.
Yeah.
Like his whole first family's dead, so here he is in the Nordlands with a new kid, and he has to like deal with his past, and like I don't know. It's surprising that like, oh, I care about the story of a God of War game. That's
Yeah, from what I've seen, large portions of the game are you cruising around in your little rowboat and he's just telling the kid about his life, so you're kind of like absorbing the backstory through the world.
Yeah, the Hyrule field of water in this game.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
It sounds cool. I'm just
I do want to check it out.
I've heard it described as very Darksiders like what Darksiders 3 should be. And I like those games. Those are good.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, I'm like 7 or 8 chapters into Yakuza. I don't know how many chapters there are in that game. I'm like just started BattleTech. It's like I don't know when I'm ever gonna find time to play this game.
Some games just pass, and that's whatever. I mean, that's what happens. That's why we have the FUNCAST. Keep you up to date with the cool games we play.
So somebody else
cool games we play.
God of War for me.
Yeah.
So I can live through you.
Our last console news is that Konami, we think might be actually dying, and someone should check on them, give them a call, make sure that they're around.
Yeah. So like when they first announced they were getting out of the video game business, they were like, we're gonna finish Metal Gear Survive, because I think that was announced at that time.
Yeah.
We're still gonna do our Pro Evolution Soccer,
which is a big deal, apparently. I didn't know
which
this.
is
I didn't know
for a
either.
very long time, what like before FIFA got like licensed players, it was the soccer game. But then they got like most of the licensed players, and it was like over for. Although from what I understand, a lot of like soccer game purists prefer the gameplay of Pro Evolution Soccer to FIFA. But anyway, that's probably, I don't know how many of those guys are going to be left, because like after the UEFA Champions League final this year, Konami's just going to say like, nah, we're not renewing our license with the UEFA Champions League, which is kind of the whole draw to PES.
Right.
They have the exclusive deal to the UEFA's Champions League and all the teams and players that play there, because and like that's the biggest soccer league, most popular soccer league on the planet. And well, if they don't have that, well, I guess Konami's not doing PES anymore either.
That's what it sounds like, you know. And I mean, it sounds like
I guess they
they're-
saw that, like, well, dev costs compared to how many people are buying this, compared to how many people are buying FIFA, it's just not worth it.
they're cutting the legs out of their own game. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's to like kill their audience off so they don't, you know, they can justify not
It's
producing the game, but it's just weird. But Konami just, I was looking at their like profile of it earlier. They have like 4 games right
Yeah,
now, like that
like
exist.
it's so sad. Like, I just wish they'd, like, I don't know, license Castlevania to somebody, or, you know,
Right.
Nope.
Or, you know,
like
not
right
if
now
pissed
their current
off-
output, the current
Uh,
output of stuff they're actually like still doing, or were still doing, was they finished Metal Gear Survive, which is like a 7 out of 10 game. I think it's fine.
It's just
Probably
okay.
shouldn't be a Metal Gear name, but like whatever, it's a fine survival game. That's done and out. They're probably going to be killing off Pro Evolution Soccer. They're doing like a million versions of ports of the Bomberman game that came out on Switch, which was terrible.
I hear it was real bad.
So I'm sure, like, I don't know how you fuck up Bomberman, but apparently Konami found a way. So I imagine once that's out everywhere, Bomberman's done forever. And then they have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Mobile game that just shits money. So that's kind of it.
Yeah,
I heard that they were
it's
still
really
holding
weird.
on to all their licenses and applying them to pachinko machines
Yes.
and just running that
did a
gamut.
lot of- They did a lot of really good-looking re-renders of Metal Gear scenes from different games for the fucking pachinko machine.
Yeah. Nice. Oh my god. Well,
mean,
less
to be
depressing
fair-
news. Oh,
to be
never
fair,
mind.
if I had
Yes.
the money,
Still
if I had the
depressed, hold
money,
on.
I'd get into the like slot machine business. That seems like a pretty good business to be in.
Yeah, gambling games make shit tons of money because people love
people
to
will
siphon money
pay-
away
yeah.
from people on fixed incomes.
And
Who
those
knew? It was so easy.
and the licensed slot machines are more popular.
Oh yeah, because people play what they recognize.
Yeah, I don't know how that matters, but like, yeah, I guess Metal
funny
Gear
is
Pachinko makes
some-
money.
Some of those are making it out here now, but it's still a slow
Yeah.
stream.
It's
But it's mostly popular in Japan. I'm
Gambling
sure.
gambling games are weird.
But to more interesting companies doing
for a
interesting
company
things
that's
that
getting
aren't
back in-
dying.
Yeah, a company that's getting back into making games.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, they're not getting into making games. They're acquiring other people to make games for them.
Which then allows them to say that they're making games because they've acquired.
Like, if we talk about, like, we're talking about Valve, by the way, hold on, before I start going off.
Valve bought Campo Santo of Firewatch fame.
Yeah, but
Yes.
the last couple Valve titles that came out, like, they bought a team to make Left 4 Dead. They bought the team that made Portal. Like,
Yep.
Valve themselves haven't made anything.
Portal was like a student project or something. And
Yeah, Narbacular Drop. It was
yeah.
like a Full Sail game.
Yeah, now they own Campo Santo, and it apparently won't affect the planned release of like
Oh
their
my God.
upcoming game for consoles, whatever that's called. I'm forgetting the name of.
In the Valley of Gods.
That's the one.
I had a sneeze and it didn't happen, so sorry.
Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
just.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
Overreacting.
like
No.
one of the questions about Valve making games was like over the years, all the writers for like the Half-Life games left the company because they weren't making games that needed writing anymore.
Mhm.
And so like, hey, here's a studio that just made a narrative game. Here's all the like writers and games people you could need to make stuff again.
That's interesting too, is I didn't realize in this article is that they're actually relocating the whole studio to Valve.
Yeah.
Valve's HQ. So
Valve doesn't want external workforce.
yeah, I thought this was going to be like the EA kind of thing where they just hire a studio and
Nope,
they're like,
it's
oh,
not
you make
a-
the
not-
game, but EA owns you. So
yeah, not a satellite office. They're
They're
just gonna
literally
move
swallowing
into-
the team. Everyone's got to
Yeah.
move to
Yeah.
Washington.
Yeah, they're consuming them. Yeah.
and then like
From out
wander the
west
halls
somewhere.
of Valve, wondering what project to attach themselves to.
Yeah, damn. Very cool. Good
Yeah.
for Steam. Good for Valve,
for-
right?
Good for Valve.
Campo Santo.
Yeah, them too. I'm
Like,
sure
this is
they
cool.
got bought out for a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And they deserve it because their game's really rad.
This Firewatch is really cool.
Well, I mean, it's
Valve
really
is-
nice because I hear the way that the
Sorry,
Valve
it is really
internal
cool.
works
Sorry, that's
is
something else.
the Valve team is just like, hey, if you want to make something, make it. So it's real nice to have a
Although
developer.
I would hope that with them moving towards making games again, they're gonna focus.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's set up a games team.
Well, they lost a lot of their games team people to Steam
everywhere.
tech people because that's what they needed. And that's what they've been hiring. Anyway, real quick, I was just laughing because their other game they're making is Artifact, and I just don't buy that it's gonna do that great. But we'll see. Artifact is going to be their Hearthstone competitor.
Yeah, designed by Dr. Richard Garfield.
Yep. Yep. On to other PC game news.
Speaking of old PC games,
Serious Sam's a game that apparently existed as a series, and people seem to like it.
So, like, until Burnout put this in the notes for the show, I had zero idea this was happening. So that's cool. It's made by Crow Team.
Yeah,
that's
for people who don't know.
Digital.
Yeah.
Serious Sam is an old ass series that goes back to like your Quake days of like old 90s first person shooters, but their claim to fame was being like the most ridiculously over the top.
Yeah, it took the like, the rooms in like Doom or Quake where you'd have like, like a wave of enemies, there'd be like 15 enemies in the room, and just like that's the game. It's like it's not like quite a wave-based shooter, but it's like, you get into a combat room, it's like here's like 300 enemies,
Yeah, it's still like a shooter, a linear
First
shooter.
Game, by the way, 2001.
Oh,
it's like a Duke Nukem sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like Duke Nukem.
It's like that style of game.
But their thing was always like, we're going to send hundreds of guys at you. And these guys have no heads and bombs for arms. And if they get to you, you
scream running at you the whole time. So like the game, and there are other games in this similar style of like just huge hordes of enemies. And so the game is about, you have your limited resources of ammo and health. And so it's about managing the waves of enemies and like identifying them and like, using the right guns and managing your ammo. And so, like the dudes with the bombs and no heads, they run at you. They're screaming the whole time they're alive, just so they spawn like, on the other side of the level. You hear them off in the distance.
You're just screaming guys just slowly getting closer, and you're like, where?
From all directions. So it's like, okay, I know those guys are coming from my left, and over to my right, I hear the Scorpion dudes spawning. So I'm going to go get them first because I have my rockets, and I don't need the rockets for those dudes. And then you hear another guy spawn. So it's all about, like learning the enemy mechanics and dealing with it in like almost a deterministic, like puzzle kind of way.
Is it is it like Kill Floor at all? It kind of looks like Kill Floor. Killing Floor.
It's more like what was that series of games that had the lightning shuriken gun?
I don't know.
That's gonna bug me. I am going to Google search lightning shuriken gun. What game is this? Painkiller. That's the game.
Oh, I do know that game.
Painkiller is very similar to this very large enemy combat encounter Quake game.
Huh. Okay.
That game's also pretty damn good. It's like weird steampunk Victorian horror stuff. Again, there's a gun that shoots shurikens and lightning.
I wonder why Devolver Digital picked up all the Serious Sam stuff. Apparently they've published every Serious Sam spin-off. The HD re-release.
I guess Crow Team picked them up as a publisher.
And
or
I wonder if there's
Devolver Digital picked them up.
And there's like a ton of Serious Sam offshoots. I did know that.
And also for like something completely change of pace, Crow Team also made the Talos Principle. In case you weren't aware. Something completely different.
I still haven't played Talos Principle, and I really wanted to.
Crow Team does a lot of like one of the reasons Serious Sam was so notable is that like at the time it came out, like graphically and like enemies on screen wise, it was like mind blowing, like tech wise, and they do a lot of really cool like tech stuff, engine stuff. Yeah. And if you're one of those PC gamers that gets really pissed off when like there aren't enough video options,
this one has
the
too
Serious
many.
Sam 3 like advanced menu option is literally just a gigantic scrolling list of text like options to change everything in the engine. And you can change them. There's like no limit on the variables. So it's like, what resolution do you want the shadows to render at? 90,000 pixels wide? Go for it.
I guess it makes sense that they're the Talos Principle guys then, because that was like the DirectX 12 benchmark game. Like the first one out in the new engine.
And then they just they blow open, like, if you want to fuck with the CVARs for every single possible graphical option in the engine, you can do.
That's funny. Other PC news. I'm going to skip this one first and go to Dark Souls Enhanced Edition is going to be half off for PC users if you owned the original, right?
Yeah, the Prepare to Die version PC port. Yeah.
That's nice.
That's cool.
Not quite as cool as Skyrim Enhanced Edition being free, but, you know.
Yeah.
At least they're doing something.
I wonder how, like if the remaster will be worth it compared to playing Dark Souls with like DS fix to make it playable on PC.
The thing too about this piece too, just is that a lot of this was a rumor for a while, like discounted. Well, we talked about it before this stream, but I know a lot of people were actually really mad about paying for this at all. You know,
yeah.
You know, it kind of
welcome to PC gamer entitlement.
Yeah, you know, and I think they sort of messed up because I don't think they predicted that that's how people was going to respond. Yeah. I wonder if it's a Japanese company thing.
It must be, like, it's a Japanese company dealing with PC stuff, and I feel like the wording of this tweet is like absolutely 1000%. Here's a Japanese company, right?
Yeah.
Please feel free to take advantage of this campaign. Like, what the?
Don't mind. Yeah.
I'm just weirded out by. Like, here's Dark Souls again on PC after the first one. When you fix the game with an outside patch, you can run it at whatever resolution you want and everything. Like, I wonder how different it's going to be.
I heard somebody say it was the first game, but in the third game's engine.
Huh.
Okay. I heard too when Prepare to Die came out that one of the advantages of going back is one of the big appeals of Dark Souls is the whole like comment system.
Yeah.
And just re-releasing the game is a big excuse for people to play it again and throw new comments back out. So it actually like
one of the coolest things. One of the coolest gaming experiences in the world is like playing. First it was Demon Souls, but then Dark Souls when it first came out and nobody knew anything.
Mm-hmm.
And like then it came to PC and like, Dark Souls was like kind of big.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't, it hadn't become quite as like huge. It hadn't entered the cultural zeitgeist in quite the same way it has now.
Right.
And like seeing all that again new should be pretty cool because I sure hope more people play the first game because it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like the other ones because they're easier, but I think the first one was still super hard.
It's less that 2 and 3 are easier, and more that like most people playing 2 and 3 have been playing these games for a while.
So they've gotten better.
So the players are just better.
I thought they smoothed some of the like clunkier parts too.
Some of it's a little smooth, but like in some other ways, it's just like, oh, here's just like a completely new fucked up enemy that's just like, unfair.
Right.
They smoothed out some of the because like in first Dark Souls, there are some places that are just like, there's Nintendo hard and then there's arcade bullshit hard. And there's some parts of the first Dark Souls that are more like arcade game, we need to eat your quarters difficulty.
Right.
Like the fucking wheel skeletons when you first meet them and
I see
the entirety of the catacombs and you can go that way from the start of the game. That fucks up new players real bad.
I do hope it results in more Dark Souls gifts because Dark Souls gifts are hilarious every single time. So
you haven't played one, have you?
Nope. Burnout hasn't either, though, right?
Nope. And when it comes out on Switch in June or whenever they said they delayed it to, if it supports the video capture with the Switch share button, then I will share all of my funny moments.
Man, that's going to be cool on Switch because I'm sure there are a lot of people that are Switch owners that just never touched this game before.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I look forward to it. Moving on, Xbox and Discord teaming up in some way.
Sort of. Yeah, basically you can go into Discord or Xbox and like link your account now. And then when you're playing games, an Xbox game, either on PC or on an Xbox, people on Discord can see what you're playing. It'll show up under your name on the side, which is kind of neat.
Well, I mean, if you're a guy who plays primarily on Xbox, but you still like open up Discord on your phone to chat, now it can
it's
shares what you're playing. That's cool.
And like it's cool to see like a console to PC thing like this for a communications platform.
Right, because in an alternate universe, you'd imagine that Microsoft has their own version of Discord that no one uses because it's garbage, like Skype gaming, Skype game.
Well, they do.
Yeah,
It's the
like-
Xbox app on the PC, which we had to use for Sea of Thieves, and it was complete garbo.
Yeah, that thing that no one uses. It's nice that Xbox recognizes that other
I
people
don't
might
think
not
this-
want to use that.
I'm not gonna be able to like right click somebody's name and that's playing Sea of Thieves and hit join game in Discord.
Right.
I'll be able to see
Probably
that they're
not.
playing it, but like that's still
But
a good first step.
that's the integration. Like, how often does Microsoft integrate with non-Microsoft apps from their platforms? You know,
Mhm.
or
Before
at
the
least from
Xbox One kind of went nowhere, never.
Yeah, I mean, okay, granted they have YouTube and stuff and Facebook and those apps, but this is different. This is a different community thing, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not different at all.
Like,
Maybe it's the same as YouTube, but still, it seems different.
They're recognizing that like nobody ever wants to use in-game chat anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's like, no, you're playing with friends, you're probably not going to be using the in-game party chat, you're just going to be on Discord or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Especially since all their first party games are cross-platform now.
That brings me to the saddest news, unfortunately. Much sadder than Konami. Much sadder than, Labo existing.
That's hey.
This is Hearthstone, a game that's very dear to me. The director, Benjamin Broden, the king of flannel, the king of the laugh that is so infectious.
Best Blizzard laugh of all time.
It just makes you chuckle. He is leaving Blizzard. Not because he was fired or anything. It's just
he's
reached
wants
a point.
to go do stuff.
Yeah, he hasn't even declared what. As soon as he said that, I'm like, I gotta fire up the resume. I'm gonna apply to wherever Ben Brode.
Follow him wherever he
he
goes.
announces that, it's like, okay, time to go figure out what game studio he's founding.
I would love to do that. And there's a couple other people from Blizzard leaving too. I forget his name. You might actually know him. Discount. Because he's just a Blizzard person and not strictly Hearthstone. I forget his name though. But he's leaving too, and so presumably they're leaving together to start something. But one of the reasons why this is really sad to me is because Ben Brode is one of the best game directors ever. Of any game I've ever seen. So most game directors, their only job is to sort of lead the direction of the team, which means they have to be well liked by the team. They have to really like their game, and then they have to go up on stage and talk about their game and not sound like an idiot.
And also, they're the guys that got to sell. They're the guys that got to sell the budget to the publisher.
Right.
So
And
they
they
got to
gotta,
really like their game.
And Ben Brode, I've never seen anyone like their own game more than Ben Brode. Sometimes you catch little hints of other directors when they're talking about their game that like they don't really believe what they're saying. Like when you go back and watch those No Man's Sky videos.
Yeah, or you get the director. You get the director where it's just like you can tell it's like we've been playing this fucking game for 4 years. I just want it done. I want to go home to my wife.
Oh no, we lost Android. Where'd he go?
Oh no!
Oh my god. Sorry.
He lives.
That was weird. Continue.
Yeah, I was just saying it's like sometimes there are developers where it's like you can tell, oh my god, we've been working on this fucking game for 4 years.
Yeah.
Come out. I want to go home.
He's been working on Hearthstone for 10 years.
Yeah.
Long time.
And he still loves it.
Was
He
it
still
just
shows
like team 4 or whatever at Blizzard.
Yeah, it just started as this real tiny little
Like
team.
5 people?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Start as
Just,
a
like,
small team, just
started
writing
and,
like a Unity app.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
got like, and then he like brought it to, I guess at the time it was like Mike Morheim. It was like, can we do this?
Yeah.
And sold them. I'm like, yeah, let's make a fucking free to play collectible card game on the PC and like make everybody else look stupid when they try to release their own version of it.
But I think he just navigated the online space really well. As much as
yeah.
people had problems with him or with Hearthstone, like everyone on Reddit.
Like this in this picture that's on the broadcast right now, just him smiling. That's Ben Brode.
Yeah, that's Ben
him
Brode
all the time.
All the
whenever
time.
Whenever he was in public, just the most positive ray of sunshine, burst of energy you could possibly imagine.
So him leaving is sort of sad for me because I think it's going to be not. There's literally no one at Blizzard that can replace him. Like none. No one can meet his abilities. His
And like
ability
a
set.
lot of the known names at Blizzard have like either retired or moved to other companies or.
Someone in a chat that I'm a part of said, "Oh, you know, we could take him as the guy that leads WoW. What's his name? Metzen, I think.
Chris
right?
No,
Metzen.
but he left.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then I was like, oh yeah, Chris Metzen, and I was looking him up. He was the guy that was like, you think you want that, but you don't, right? Or is that the guy that replaced him?
No. I think that was Metzen.
He was definitely the sometimes the players just like really don't know what they want.
Yeah, and I just remember
Which
that
is
being
something.
like, no director should say that.
Somebody, I mean, like, yes, no director should probably say that.
He's not wrong, but he shouldn't say
also,
it.
he's 100% right.
Yeah.
Especially World of Warcraft.
He's allowed to say that.
No, you're not, because that's the whole reason why your fan base turns against you. If people were like, "But bro, we want to do this," he'd be like, "That sounds really fun," and then never do it. But people would remember that's what he said.
No.
That's true.
Metzen's the kind of guy who's just like, no, you don't want that.
That's so bad.
I mean, part of that communication came from just like for a very long time, the World of Warcraft team was like fairly open with what they were working on. And then because an MMO is this horrifying, grotesque beast of a game, like a lot of that stuff never showed up ever again or got scrapped or cut quietly because like it wasn't fun or wasn't good or like whatever. And so then people would be like, hey, remember when you said you were doing this thing? Why aren't we doing it? And it's like, well, because it's like, you don't want to come out and say like, well, actually, you don't want the dance studio because it like fucking sucks, or whatever.
Right.
So.
I don't know, man. Ben
Brode's a good dude, though.
I'll miss Ben Brode. And it's sad if you go to the bottom of that article, there's just all these Kotaku comments that are just like, maybe they'll replace him with someone who actually knows game design. And it's like, he hasn't done any game design for the game for like 6 years. Like, all he does is he's the face and he leads the team. That's his role. And he's really good at it, That salty comment right at the top there. That's
this one replaces somebody that actually prioritizes game balance and stability over making meme cards and OP decks that make for good. Like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
You don't understand anything if you're making this comment.
Right.
Should prioritize game balance. Like, what is stability?
Yeah.
What
well,
is
it's
stability?
like, the game has some goofy, keywords that it's not consistent about. But
what is stability? What is game balance in your eyes? What's a balanced card game for you?
Well, that's the thing.
Is it one where you win all the time?
That's the Hearthstone toxicity. Is it's like there's this ridiculous argument about meta and meta balance all the time, and it's really unfortunate because it's like I think a lot of people that talk about it don't really understand what they are asking for, and I don't mean it in the Chris Metzen way. I just mean
you think you want game balance and stability.
But they're not realizing.
Like a lot of people make this comment. It's like, I want to win all my games, basically.
Yeah,
right? They want to feel
like
it's a puzzle.
That means that somebody else is losing all their games.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like they're like, I only see the same.
More powered. I don't want to ever play. They should nerf Shaman. And it's like, well, Shaman's not, And then it's like you get into the like, Shaman's only good because like the rest of the stuff is weaker. So you don't want to nerf Shaman. You want to buff something else so the metagame can stabilize around something that's good instead of one deck that's just better than garbage, right?
Right. Because like right now it's like oh, I only play against the same 6 decks all the time. I'm like, that's a lot of decks. Like you look at a Magic tournament, there's 2 decks at a Magic tournament every tournament.
Well, to be fair, at the most recent like top 8, there was like 6 decks in the top 8, different decks in the top 8 for modern. But I understand
modern. I mean standard. Sorry.
Standard's a weird thing right now. But
standard MTG decks are usually a lot smaller.
Yeah. But like, and like those, and it's like, sure, here's 6 archetypes, but like none of those decks are going to be identical.
Yeah.
Right. They're archetypes. They're frames to build around, right?
And that's how Hearthstone's operating right now, where it's like there's one really good aggro deck, there's one really good mid-range deck, and there's one really good control deck. And people are really upset.
Those are the 3 main archetypes of. You should be very happy that all are playable at once.
And people are upset because it's like, oh, I can't play the control deck that I want to play because that control deck's better. And it's like, yeah, that's how it works. Like, What do you
Yeah.
want? That's a rock, paper, scissors. That's card games. That's how the meta works, you know?
It's like what you don't want is you don't want. It's like what you want isn't a competitive card game. You want a card puzzle game where there's only ever one answer.
Yeah, or
And,
something.
like, the thing your opponent's
Look,
playing.
man.
You want to play solitaire. That's fine.
I don't know what people want.
Making games is hard. Android,
Speaking
tell us
of-
about making games.
Tell us about the
So-
video game we made.
So earlier in the podcast, if you're still with us, God bless you. And but yeah, we mentioned Ludum Dare, and so Ludum Dare is a game jam event that happens every 6 months, I believe, or every 4 months. I'm not actually.
I think the last one was in December.
Yeah. The next one's in August, so
Yeah.
that's so every 4 months there is a game jam, and starting in Ludum Dare 40. I wanted to get together the FUN-GINEERS and try and see if anyone was interested, because I've always wanted to do a game jam, but they're very hard to do yourself. So I was like, oh, maybe other people will be interested, and we'll get some others, and I could teach them Unity because that's what I do, and maybe we'll make something. So Ludum Dare 40 was very successful. That was really fun. We invented the beloved character Steely Willy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on that page, Burnout, you can even just scroll down, I think, and Steely Willy's right at the bottom with Stack
I'm
Thief.
not, but I can pull that up real quick.
No, that's fine. And so then after that was the Global Game Jam, which sort of in between the 4-month period. And we made another game that was really fun called Lightfield. And so this game jam,
Lightfield was cool.
we were like, okay, let's get together. Let's do it. That's the thing we like to do. Check it out. So this one was, the competition was has a theme, and you're supposed to make a game towards that theme just to help you out, like for design direction.
I think for the number 40, the one we did in December, the theme was the more you have, the worse it gets. So we made a physics game where you steal stuff and have to stack it.
But the more you're stacking, the harder it is to stack it without it falling over. And if stuff falls over, it will just break and disappear. We used all these like placeholder assets from the store, and for whatever reason, the like shader I made to see through the walls didn't work on mobile. Another thing where if you don't build towards the device, it doesn't work. Anyway, Steely Willy was great. Our friend Jason Frothy, who made the FUNCAST art, he made the character, and I animated him with these like bendy
dangly legs.
Yeah. Anyways, so that was a lot of fun to make, and the recent game, it was 2 incompatible game types, and we went through a ridiculous amount of different ideas.
That was a fun Google Doc.
I know. It was just, we were just shouting ideas, and they were getting terrible. I think at one point we had like I don't even remember any of them. I'd have to bring it up. Hold on.
It was like, it's like we imported the community tags from Steam, and like and I don't know, I don't want to say most of them. A lot of those are not genres.
No, the themes.
Yeah, they're for whatever reason. I guess there's enough Tomb Raider games that Lara Croft is a community tag.
What?
Yeah.
Exists on Steam.
One of them is like 360 video horses. You tried. So
well,
like
Quap horses in space. Well, probably a good game. Not
horses
exactly
in
a
space.
genre.
We also had Street Fighter Restaurant Management,
Mhm.
a typing baseball game,
I think that would actually be kind of cool.
Survival Racer, which looking around on the Twitter of Ludum Dare, I think a lot of people did that. A card game, Metroidvania, which was my idea, and I still have an idea for this.
That one I think you could probably blow into a real game.
I think it'd be really cool.
I mean,
City. Yo, go ahead.
We can always just do that. I mean, it doesn't have to be a game jam.
So I was talking to my friend about that. So unfortunately, I was very busy this weekend. Unexpectedly, my brother
got busy.
I know, it's really unfortunate, but luckily the lead programmer at the company I work, he's like the director of programming, and he was like, I'm working on this. So he pretty much made the whole thing himself with the help of various people adding art or design decisions, but he programmed the whole thing. And that is Kevin Kohler.
And our
He's
theme, by the way, I don't
Bongar.
think we mentioned it. What we went to is mini golf tower defense.
That's the one we landed on. Mini golf tower defense.
So
And
for
you can even
people who
it
can't see
here.
the video,
Yep.
Oh, right.
And for the people who are
Weirdos.
listening to podcasts,
The
you know, like
people without
90%
eyes.
of podcast audiences,
Yeah.
there's a strip of mini golf course, and you build towers along it, and you're trying to knock the balls away from the hole.
And a whole bunch of people are playing at once,
Yeah.
and some of them are,
And you get
it's
scored based on how many strokes it takes them to get the ball into the hole. So you're trying to
Yeah.
disrupt their
trying
ball.
to get everybody to go over par.
The first thing Kevin worked on was the AI, and it's surprisingly pretty good. There's a bend in the course, and they still get it there eventually.
Yeah, he has like they have like, I think it was originally like a 30-degree cone, and I think he narrowed it to 15.
Yeah.
Like it chooses a thing in the cone and then chooses a power level, and they're pretty good. It was also real freaky when he was working on it originally, and like the golfers didn't like follow the contours of the course. They would just
and they
like,
would just ghost
walk
through everything.
the hill and like
Yep.
ghost people. It was kind of scary.
Yeah, it was spooky.
Well, yeah,
the
I remember
character
seeing
models-
that.
Look kind of like Hero Brian, the ghost of Minecraft.
Yep.
Yeah, because they're all based off this Minecraft character like asset pack, so like they look like Minecraft characters, but they
that
don't
makes
move
sense.
their limbs at all.
Yeah, so they floating.
They're not
through the golf
animated.
course, kind of scary looking.
These turret animations are rad though. He totally found these in another pack, and I was like super impressed by them.
Was
like
the
they
animation built in? Or did he
yeah, it's
animate
free.
them?
It's all free. No, he didn't.
Okay.
He doesn't animate. He doesn't do any art. He hates art stuff. That's why all the
I
beta
hate
fonts.
art.
Well, he finds it tedious.
He does programmer art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know,
he's a big fan of logic and just trying to like figure out how to do stuff. And so I was the one that likes doing the UI programming. I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, that's why the results screen and title screen and stuff like that even exists on Stack Thieves because I wanted it. But yeah, so I didn't get to work on it at all, and I felt really bad about it.
That's okay.
but yeah,
I also intended to help, and I didn't because I got busy.
Yeah, it came out great though. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah.
For something made in to be clear too, the game jam is a 72-hour game jam. But Monday, not a lot of people can work on it Monday, so it's really 48 hours, and that's not a lot of time to make something. So
No.
getting anything in a complete-ish state, there's no way to lose this game. So I don't know how complete it is, but it's
Complete enough that I spent like 30 minutes just playing this like super jank build.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It is really cool.
Yeah, it's like, and like, it's a cool thing. Like right now I'm on the site, the Ludum Dare, ldjam.com.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, Ludum Dare.
Have you been
there
listening?
are currently 3,047 submissions.
Yep.
And you can just like check some of these things out. There's a lot of like really cool stuff that people make really quickly, and like it boggles my mind at how complete some of these are. Like how you manage to make like a surprisingly polished game in 3 days is like crazy, and there's a lot of really cool different ideas, and like especially with a category like this where it's like here's two things that are completely different.
And reading the comments too on our game specifically, people are very positive about it, which is really nice. Even the most recent one I posted 2 minutes ago. Wave 1, what am I doing? Wave 2, no turrets, you were helping the golfers. Wave 3, I don't understand what the strategy is. Wave 4, wait, I can upgrade? Wave 5, wow, this is getting frenetic. Wave 7, this is kind of funny. Wave 10, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, you end up with a lot of golfers.
And that's the original idea I pitched. That was my design input. That's like the only thing I got to add to the game, is that I envisioned that there would be like a tower defense game when you get to the higher waves, like all the enemies are super stacked up, and I thought it'd be funny if you had all the golfers stacked up just golfing all at once.
Yeah, like
all
I was
fucking flying everywhere.
Like, I think if you've ever seen one of those videos of like Trackmania where it's like thousands of cars going at once all together, like that's kind of what we wanted to build.
Yeah. So I was, originally I was like, oh, we should put instead of building turrets, I wanted to build mini golf course elements. So like instead of a cannon, you would have a windmill, and instead of
Or a swinging pirate ship, or
instead of a guided missile, you'd have a river trap, or something like that. Something more thematic to mini golfing, because I wanted the tower defense aspect of it to be in the waves and the people, not the towers themselves. That way it would be more like genre combining.
This
But,
more
yeah.
ridiculous mashup of like these Command and Conquer looking turrets and these dudes mini golfing really drive home the two different genre things.
Again, I think you could.
That's
it's one of those
true.
ideas,
That's
like
true.
with making the towers actual like course designing stuff
Mhm.
to defend the hole would actually be a pretty cool actual game.
I was just thinking, what if the turrets like deformed the course as they fired into it? That'd be
Like
pretty funny
worms.
too.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Like you fire the ball and it just like creates a pit.
puts a crater.
Yeah, a small crater where it lands.
Or you can, oh man, you could have a tower that adds like blobs to the course.
Yeah. But that was the fear when we started designing. It was like, how do we make sure that you don't like if you can still win?
Yeah.
Or like that the golfers can still like you don't just cheat the game and are
You
like
don't just build build a wall. They're done.
so. But all the
Built my
turrets on
obstacle.
all the turrets on the outside did make it did have balance like built into it. So
Yeah.
worked out.
These things are cool.
Okay.
Anyways.
You don't have to know a whole lot about. I don't know how to program. Like,
No,
in
but
that first
Discount's
game-
always
yeah.
there just to tell us ideas and
Like
vote.
the first game we made, Stack Thief, like I found Unity and helped with design.
Yeah.
Yeah, like anybody can sign up and do these things, and it's fun too. Even if you
Yeah, I mean,
don't know anything, there are so many ways to learn Unity.
and there's no pressure. It's really just an excuse to like constrain yourself, because that's one of the hardest things about getting started on something like this. If you have no experience, is like, oh, I want to make a game, and then you like are like, wow, there's a lot to
How
learn,
do you go from make a game to making a game?
and this doesn't look very good at all. But like, if it's only you have to deliver something in 48 hours, it doesn't matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like,
Yeah, you tried a thing.
yeah,
Try your concept out. It's cool.
You just put it out there, like the last game we did for Global Game Jam, Lightfield, that game almost killed me because of how much like I was like dying.
That game jam was too little time.
That one was exactly 48 hours,
Yeah.
unlike this one with that bonus day, and just trying to get all the like game together like was so down to the wire. Like I was implementing levels the hour before
I think we submitted
I submitted
20
it.
minutes before the deadline. Or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I was like, there's no game. I just have all the mechanics working. And then I created like a choose your level. And that was it. And I was like, this is it. This is the game. Choose your level. That's all I can do. I'm sticking with it. Yeah. Anyways, so that was the FUNCAST. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I
Mhm.
know that Discount did. And I know that
Yeah.
Burnout did.
You don't know me.
You're right, I don't. I'm sorry. I just
Nah, just kidding. I enjoyed it.
He's got
Hooray!
I just really have
got
to
that
pee
kung
though.
fu mind reading.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't have the halfway point break this time.
yeah, no, we just
Yeah,
sat
I
there
was
for 2
hoping,
hours straight.
I was hoping to keep it down to 2 hours, yeah, just because it's late here, because we started late, and yeah, so I just wanted to sort of run through, so I have a couple like 20 minutes before I actually have to go to bed. But yeah, so like I think it was good. So thank you for listening in. Hopefully we'll do this on Tuesdays from now on, since it seems to be a day that we're all available. I'll definitely try and get home earlier, but the latest.
Somebody's too busy kung fu fighting.
Kung Fu is fun.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's sometimes you're shaky on your sword form and you have to stay a little late to ask the Sifu how to do it.
And then you got to go manage a baseball team and got to pick up your kids from the bar and
And the next thing you know, you're part of the Yakuza.
yeah, got to go home
I
to
know.
Kamarucho and find out who hit your fucking kid with a car and just
Well,
Tuesday
again,
nights,
thank you.
man. We're busy.
Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week
See you next week.
on the FUNCAST.
Bye.